Look, it was before my time, but I believe, Greg, the track failed around 2010 or 11, and it was just an old track. And so I think there was some structural issues. There was a bit of a negative camber on the turn and some drainage issues as well. So the decision was rightly made that they needed a new racetrack at Newcastle. And so that started with the construction of what we call the B grass or the Beaumont track. So they built the Beaumont track as a track to race on while the course proper was being redone. And that was that occurred over 3 or 4 years, with the course proper being opened in March 2017, so nearly 4 years ago. The funding was provided, and that not only covered the rebuild of the Beaumont track so that they could continue to race, but the total reconstruction of the course proper. And so there was some additional funds thrown in by the club to cover various other ancillary issues around a redevelopment of that scale, which obviously takes in a lot of other things as well.
These things aren't cheap. How much did it cost?
Look, the total amount put in by Racing New South Wales was just over $11 million, and the club probably ended up putting in 2.5 to 3 million as well. So you're probably looking at the best part of 14 million for a new course proper and a B grass. But the reality is, it's money very well spent. You know, we've got a fantastic track that should be around for 40 years if we look after it. And so, you know, it's a superior racing surface, and you know, we need the best racing surfaces possible to provide the best wagering medium and the safest conditions. The other key issue while we're here is to provide a safe medium for the horses to race on, and a fair medium for the punters to have a bet on. And I think the great thing about this track is that it's not only a great draining track, which responds incredibly well after heavy rain, but it's a very fair track, so it gives every runner a good chance, whether they're from an inside barrier or an outside barrier, whether they're a leader or a horse that gets back and runs home. So we're pleased with the fact that it just gives every opportunity to participants and punters to have a good result.
It's become the track now where if there is bad weather about for any period of time and other meetings have had to be called off or delayed or whatever, they start asking, can we go to Newcastle?
Look, I think that we've had some conversations with Racing New South Wales about the fact that we're happy to be the track that's sitting on the bench ready to go. We had this extraordinary situation only last week where we had 150 millimetres of rain between Saturday and Monday morning. We were meant to race on the Monday. The course proper was a heavy 8 after 6 inches of rain. The reason we didn't race is because the car parks were underwater. So the only dry place, on the precinct was the track. So we, put the race meeting off to the following day, and we started on a soft 7 and got back to a 5, and it was an 8 back to a 6. So look, no other track would have raced after 6 inches of rain, and they would have been a bottomless 102. So we are blessed with this freak show. When we get heavy downpours, it moves the water incredibly well. In fact, the biggest problem we have is when we get a little bit of rain and it sort of sits on the top and makes it a bit mushy. We're better off having an inch of rain than 5 millimetres. It's a sort of a strange beast like that. But yeah, absolutely, we're up for being the track that's available when other tracks simply can't race because they've had huge weather event. Look, all tracks require constant renovation and attention. Obviously, they need fertilising, and you need to deal with various pests and insects. That's just a fact of life. One of the things that we do an annual renovation that happens every December. The track is effectively parked for a month, and we give it a really good going over. That grooming, and I use the analogy of a golden retriever. If you're a dog lover, you'll know that if you brush your golden retriever, you'll get a whole lot of dead hair out of the golden retriever on the brush, and that's exactly what we do. It's grooming. We take that same approach and effectively brush the track and pull out the dead grass. When we go for a walk, I'll just show you a little bit of that stuff, but that's a constant process. You've got to get rid of that dying organic matter so that you don't get an anaerobic layer on the top that can cause some issues for the jocks with visibility or the stability of the surface. But look, that's not a hard process. It's just something that you keep doing to make sure that the track is healthy and you keep moving that dead grass on. That annual program is very easy to plan for and budget for, and just part of what we do.
And how's the feedback been from jockeys and trainers?
Oh, look, they love it, and I guess it's been a wet year. I think I heard the other night it could be the wettest year in New South Wales for 20 years. So the tracks around the state have been really smashed this year with heavy rainfall, certainly through winter, and so obviously it stood up, and when these trainers and jockeys are having to put up with heavy 8s and 9s and 10s elsewhere, they can come here and be on a 4, 5, 6. It's a breath of fresh air for them. So look, we're delighted that the track has performed so well. We don't want to get too pleased with ourselves, because they'll bite you on the backside if you start getting complacent. But if we keep doing the right thing, we believe we can maintain this as good a racing surface in the country.
Sabatiano 3 lengths clear from Bonamy. Fiesta, tactical advantage late, but Sabatiano has got them beaten. Sabatiano led all the way from tactical advantage and Bonamy.
It's going to be frustrating. You can't have everyone you would like in here this time around, but that's just life at the moment, isn't it?
Well, look, a lot of these ideas begin with a twinkle in Peter Volandi's eye, and that's how this started. And he talked to us early last year about wanting to have some special events in the provincials, and we're absolutely delighted that one of those special events is the Hunter. And so, we're very excited. Last year was not only a great day patron-wise and socially, it was an enormous day of racing, and delivered a better wagering turnover than the equivalent race meeting at Rosehill the year before. And that's not a near type statement, that's just a reality. As soon as you put on $1 million race and make it a feature, you're going to have that sort of response. So look, it was an unprecedented success last year. Yeah, frustrating with coronavirus and the protocols that we have to maintain going into this event. We should still have the best part of 2,000 people here, so the place will still have a buzz, but it won't be the 6,000 we had here last year. There's obviously a lot of disappointed patrons. The phone's running hot. Still, we put 400 seats out the front on the lawns for sale 10 days ago, and they sold in 8 minutes. So, there's great demand to come to the races at the moment. We've noticed in the last couple of months a very young crowd turning up. And obviously that's because racing's a great activity, and we'd like to think they want to be here because it's a particularly enjoyable day out and a great event, but also there's not a lot of other things on. So it's a great opportunity for racing to engage with that younger demographic and put on a good show. So we're looking forward to a big Saturday on the 14th.
Well, I guess if you had some luck with Racing New South Wales in the past in terms of getting funding, there's no reason to go again. Are you talking to them, or do you plan to talk to them about maybe a new grandstand, for instance?
Well, look, Greg, I think the Newcastle Jockey Club has got some big plans, and it should have some big plans. We're in a city of 500,000 here. We strategically makes total sense for Newcastle to be the centre of racing and training north of Sydney, where we're on the You know, we're next door to the Hunter Valley, and it's a great lump of land in the middle of a wonderful city. Lifestyle is, you know, magnificent here. I think if you said to Chris Lees, why don't you move to Sydney, you'd get a pretty quick answer. So we'd like to think that there's huge potential here. We're building new day stalls at the moment. There's a 500 stable, a new stable development on the radar at the moment, and we're going through the process of getting that development application finished off and submitted. And yeah, I agree with you. I think we should be looking at something like a new grandstand that might be purpose-built for 2,000 or 3,000 people. Newcastle has racing in its DNA. They turn up on a per capita basis. We shoot the lights out as far as people turning up and supporting racing. You know, we get 2,000 to 3,000 people here every Saturday when it's not coronavirus affected, from September through to Christmas. You know, so it's a fantastic effort from the locals. They get behind racing. They've got some fantastic participants and leaders of the sport. You know, Chris Lees obviously is going great guns at the moment, the leading trainer in New South Wales last season. So we've got a lot of things to be proud about in Newcastle with racing, and the logical future for this place is to be clearly the second most important club in New South Wales.
So Michael, tell us what your role is in making the Hunter, the day, as good as possible.
Yeah, so the race day is assembled a few months out, with Racing New South Wales taking care of the programming on the day. We've made some tweaks since the Hunter Day was announced 12 months ago to add our own little bit of flair on the day. We had the Spring Stakes, which was traditionally run during our Spring Carnival on the Friday, a 3-year-old race over 1,600 metres. That was added to this program, but we also had a Max Lees Classic for 2-year-olds over 900 that we ran for the first time in 2017, and then we've moved it now to the Hunter Day in November as well. So we're complemented with 9 races on the day. The Hunter race is for $1 million. The winner takes home $580,000. But as I said, on the day you've got a Group 3 worth $160,000. You've got another 6 races on the day for $125,000, and then you've got your Tab Highway as well for $75,000 on the day.
Obviously, a race, as much as it might be worth, can only be as good as its participants. Do you actually go through any process of lobbying trainers, or at least talking to trainers, not just in Newcastle but obviously Sydney and wherever else, about what their runners might be, you know, coming to this race?
Yeah, absolutely. It does take quite a bit of work liaising with jockey managers, with trainers, with owners even. You get plenty of phone calls leading up to the Hunter meeting wanting to find out the particulars about the race, but it also pays to keep an eye on the racing program as well. Races like the Everest, the Yes 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 that we had raced last week, they're all sort of major races on the radar that you do keep an eye on. Particularly the Yes 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 last week, it was $1 million race over 1,300 metres. The exact same sort of race setup as what we've got here for the Hunter. We were well supported last year. We had Savatiano from James Cummings' stable from Godolphin win the race, and she'd taken part in a few ding-dong battles here at Newcastle. So the 12 months before, she'd run in the she'd run in the Newmarket, she'd run in the Tibby, and you know, it was good to see her come here and win that race. But it was also good. We had quite a good Newcastle touch with 6 runners from the Newcastle region on the day. We had Jason Deemer and Chris Lees fill the placings with their horses Bonamy and Tactical Advantage. And I think this year it sounds like there'll be quite a few handy provincial horses looking to target this race. We've heard of Kim War's horse Trumbull. It was obviously an impressive winner last start, and it took part in an exhibition gallop here a few weeks ago in the lead up to that run. You know, there's always a few nice horses around the place.